What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another video. As we know, we're in September. It is pretty bearish, but right now it doesn't really look as bearish as the other Septembers looked. With that being said, the stock market does seem pretty slow, but there's a lot of good opportunities to still make big money in these times. And in this video, I'm going to be explaining to you guys how we can do that. But first, we got to get to some news, update you guys with the news overall, and then we'll get to Apple's event, what all they announced, and how it really benefited their stock overall, but not really because we kind of sold off towards the end of the day. And now people are pretty bearish on Apple. So we got to see where we can go with Apple. We do have some gaps to fill to the downside. And honestly, man, we just got to look at Apple a little bit deeper. And we got some other stocks like we seen Nvidia spike up from Oracle's earnings, literally right after market close. And Oracle went up a decent amount too, from $240 all the way to $310. This is a move that nobody expected. We have to talk about their earnings. Although they barely beat, they did have a good surprise with their overall future basically, and that is what investors look at. They look at the future because it's all about long-term gains. It's not really so much about the short-term gains, but if you guys are in the stock short-term, Oracle is one to watch too. But Oracle, Nvidia, we had some big spikes in those overnight, and we got a lot to talk about, some plays with these a little bit later. But let's get into some news and how the stock market moved overall. So we did have some bigger moves with Amazon yesterday, Meta, Google. We got some events with Microsoft too. Nvidia, of course, we were up 1.5% throughout the day. And then, I mean, honestly, man, once it opens up, we're going to see a bigger move. Apple, we did fall down for the earnings, and we got some other ones to talk about. But first off, let's talk about the data that came out yesterday, because honestly, it didn't really look too good. So looking at yesterday's data, which moved the market pretty decent, the job data revision cut 911,000 jobs. This is the largest downwards revision in history. This means that the average monthly gains that were cut in half to only 71,000 per month. It shows that job growth was weaker than expected and does put a lot more pressure on the Fed to cut overall. And if we open up the Fed rate cut tool to show you guys the rate cut odds, we are now at a 92%, which is kind of insane. But looking at the Fed rate cut odds, which is literally next week, so keep that on your mind. And honestly, if we get a rate cut, we can potentially see crypto pumping. So we're going to be talking about some crypto plays for next week. But there's a 92% chance of at least a 25 basis point cut. And we see a 8% chance of a double cut and or a 50 basis point cut. So we can see what happens when this comes out, especially with the data we are getting. It is kind of forcing the Fed to cut at least 25 basis points cuts. But people are kind of saying that, with these bad job numbers and stuff like that, we might get a double cut. But they do have to look at inflation too. So keep that in mind overall. But this is pretty bullish overall for the stock market. But honestly, depending on where they cut, it can be bearish too. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the stock market calendar and earnings. So first off, man, we did have Oracle and GameStop. And like I said yesterday, man, I'm pretty pumped to see where GameStop goes because my average buy for my long term is pretty high. So I kind of want to get out of GameStop pretty early so I can reposition my trade and or position another long-term trade. So we might have a long-term video coming out this week telling you guys that I sold it and maybe got into another one. And I'm going to be posting the plays early on my X account to update you guys if I sold out of my GameStop and or bought a new stock for the long term. So yeah, right now we're down a decent amount, but GameStop did beat, and we're going to be talking more about that in a couple of seconds. But today, before open, we do have Chewy, and honestly, I'm not really hype about any of the other ones. I think on Thursday, Adobe might be a little bit bigger to watch and to day trade, but honestly, now it's kind of not really anything hype for the rest of the week for the earnings. But if we go over to the stock market calendar, we got some more things coming. So an hour before market opens, we do have the PPI coming out. The PPI can show us the producer price. And we do have the CPI on Thursday, and that shows us the consumer, what they are doing. So this can really show, honestly, change the rate cut odds overall and move the market. So keep this in mind for Wednesday and Thursday, an hour before market opens, because that is going to be a little bit bigger. So PPI and we have CPI, and 30 minutes after market opens, we do have wholesale inventories, and we do have initial jobless claims on Thursday as well with the CPI. So honestly, that might be a little bit bigger. And on Friday, we got the consumer sentiment coming out as well. So that can move the market a decent amount. So keep all of that on your mind and on your radar. But let's go back and talk more about Oracle. So Oracle went insane after earnings, bringing Nvidia up with it. It popped up 20%. I think we're up like 23% now. And it has a 359% increase contracted revenue. It surprised everybody, by the way. It gapped up, and we will keep this one on our radar for trading today. I will be coming out with my potential plays and what I'm looking at potentially for option plays if certain stocks to get to a certain level, but I still have to scope those ones out and see how the market is moving overall. But I'll be posting that on my X account, so you guys can follow me if you guys want. And GameStop's earnings beat expectations by a lot. We're at 25 bucks now. We were at 23, so we did spike up a decent amount. This might be my sell zone. Honestly, my previous one was at like 25.5, but now we might be just selling a little bit early, 10 cents below, but that's not too bad. So GameStop did pretty well. You could see maybe a continuation to the upside, and or you could see it selling off once again. Honestly, man, this one you can have a long-term put option for this one, unless there's just a lot of hype behind it. But I don't think there's too much hype, so a long-term put option might not be too bad for GameStop. So I might be scoping one of those out too as well. Maybe even for the long term, get some more money back. But honestly, man, GameStop did look pretty good. But let's talk more about gold, because gold is honestly still moving pretty parabolic. We did have a tiny little pullback. I was gonna get a longer term call option, but I kind of had my patience a little bit. But at that 3.625 level, but honestly, man, gold is honestly going pretty parabolic right now, and we do have a price target of like $5,000, which is insane. So we do see gold breaking some crazy levels, and recently we've seen that it broke the 45-year inflation adjusted record high as well. This is historic and is bullish overall for gold, and not really that good for the market overall, because honestly, this is kind of like more of a fear thing to invest in. But with the dollar falling, a lot of people are just putting their money into gold rather than, investing into the dollar. So honestly, that's not bad. But we do see Goldman Sachs says that gold can hit $5,000, and we are getting some bulls overall in this. Honestly, in my opinion, it might not hit 5,000 as fast as we think, but let's see if it hits that 4,000 level. And if it hits that 4,000 level, we have room for 5,000, especially with so many people loading up on gold. This is one to keep on your radar. Another one, man, silver. Silver is moving pretty decent. So if we look at, the ETF for silver, we are still moving pretty bullish. And overnight, we did bounce up a decent amount. So with that being said, man, we are also seeing other metals like silver to the upside as well. So you can keep that on your mind. But if we go over and look at QMMM, this one honestly spiked up a decent amount. In yesterday's video, we talked about OCTO, and OCTO did kind of the same thing. Where we spiked up, but we did like kind of start selling off a decent amount. So these ones are riskier plays. You kind of want to just get into these ones early, because if you guys get into these ones early, like they spike up they go up a decent amount. Like this one, like you could have had it at $7 and then wake up and your account's at 172 per share. That is kind of insane. But it popped up yesterday. It's a Hong Kong company, and they said that they will set up a crypto treasury. We've seen the same thing with OCTO, like I said, on Monday. And honestly, these are making some parabolic moves. So keep these ones on your radar, because especially if you can get in early, you can make a decent amount of money. Just day trade it, honestly. I wouldn't really like risk it too much, but these are some good ones to watch, but only if you get in early. Like right now, it's not a good time to get in. Because it's probably going to potentially sell off even more. But you can look at ones with option plays, and if they have options, you can play some put options and just play it until it goes back to the ground, honestly. But OpenAI, they said we will more than triple our revenue this year, which is insane. OpenAI is getting even bigger, but we do have other chatbots like Gemini and stuff like that competing with them, and they kind of just have a better reach. I think Gemini's, they potentially have a deal with Apple, so that can be a little bit bigger for Gemini. So honestly, yeah. But Oracle is popping on AI demand, GameStop rise in second quarter revenue, and then we're going to be talking more about how Apple kind of showed their iPhone Air alongside with the iPhone 17 and the iPhone 17 Pro. And we're going to be talking about what they basically talked about, and like products that I'm hype about. So one is a MagSafe battery that they came out with. They announced this with the iPhone Air. It's basically a skinny battery. honestly, in my opinion, if you go over and look on Amazon or something like that, you can find a better MagSafe battery for like $30. But with that being said, I personally was looking for a battery for my old iPhone. I had the 13 Pro at the time, and the battery low key started dying pretty fast. So I feel like a MagSafe battery was good to get the battery life back up. And I seen if Apple had one and they did it. They actually came out with one like a while ago, like a couple years ago, and it's still pretty expensive, but they finally came out with a new battery. So this might be a little bit better for the stock because they're actually selling their own battery. And honestly, a lot of people might buy this one too. Honestly, I mean, I feel like it's good to have it, but if you get the ones on Amazon, it shows you the battery life on your phone and everything like that. It works just like this battery. But this is just one thing that I seen that I was kind of surprised about. But for the price tag of like $100 basically, I don't think it's too worth it. But it is a super slim battery, and honestly, it honestly looks pretty good. So it's not too bad. But another thing that I was pumped about is the AirPod Pro 3s. So basically, man, when the AirPod Pro 1s came out, I probably ran through like three of those pairs. They kept breaking, the audio just got worse or just something bad happened. But then I got the AirPod Pro 2s, and honestly, man, the Pro 2s were kind of, I still have them to this day. I got them maybe 3 years ago and they still work. So honestly, those are way better than the second or the first ones, like lasting wise. But the AirPod Pro 3s, they have so much more to offer basically. So basically way more battery life. My battery life is still pretty good and it lasts me like basically for as long as I use them basically. But these have way better sound quality. I think it says 4 times better. And one thing that I was kind of hype about is the live translation. If you guys travel a lot, this is great. And another thing, seeing them sitting at the table, basically having a conversation back and forth with the live translation with AirPods in both of them. That was honestly kind of like surprising to see where we're coming out with this where devices are to this day. You could literally go on a date with a shorty and then both have AirPods in and talk back and forth. And the other thing that I honestly liked is the heart rate sensor. So if you guys do have an iPhone with it, it will be pretty good. But I did recently switch to the Z Fold 7. So honestly, it's not really gonna be good for me. But I'm thinking about scooping the AirPods at least out of this whole event. And the dust and water resistant is a little bit better. So I think you can be in like pouring down rain. I mean, I've been in pouring down rain with my AirPods and haven't really seen an issue. The only issue is the noise cancellation and the transparency is kind of messed up. You can't really use it. So I'm very pumped to see how that works. If you can still use your transparency in wet. Probably not because it's just going to cover the mic still. But honestly, the AirPod Pro 3s and the case was kind of the biggest things that I seen were the biggest differences. But I'm very pumped to see or very pumped to use the AirPod Pro 3s. But they did announce the iPhone 17 as well. The iPhone 17 is honestly pretty good, and the iPhone 17 Pro looks pretty good too. Honestly, man, if we can all admit it, they use the same bezel from the Google. That basically just looks like a Google now. But with that being said, the Pro does look pretty good, but people are saying that, or the Air, sorry, the Air looks pretty good, but the people are basically saying that they'd rather just get an iPhone 17. But honestly, it doesn't look too bad overall. And they did come out with the watch. The watch is pretty decent too. I'm not really a watch user, but the battery life is better. They have better safety features. If you want to be healthy and not die alone, you can use this, I guess. But you do have Workout Buddy, fast charging, stuff like that. I think with the iPhone 17, you can charge it to like 50% in 20 minutes. So they do have ultra fast charging, and that can give you like 20 hours or something, or not 20, 8 hours of use. So that's pretty good. But this is the specs for all of them. All of them do come with the ProMotion. It's not really anything big of a difference, but it does honestly look pretty sick. And there's just a lot more. And they do have 48 megapixels now. So that is a big difference. The camera's way better. It's basically just the same changes year over year. Better chip, better RAM, and better battery life to say. But it is kind of cool, I guess, to say. But enough of me yapping. So at first, when the Apple event did go off, if you guys had a call option, you would have made a decent amount of money. I was thinking about it, but it was just a risk that I wasn't willing to take. But with all the volume that we got and stuff like that, these options would have pumped up a decent amount. But if you got in too late, you're probably washed out now. But with that being said, I did want to see if we could test that 240 level during that event, but we didn't. We started selling off. Honestly, we started selling off when they started announcing the iPhone. So honestly, maybe people weren't as hyped for the iPhone, and then we had an even bigger sell off towards the end of the day. So honestly, I'm pretty pumped to see where Apple goes. If we continue falling to the downside, that could be a good put option to watch. Maybe watching that 230 level, and if we break below that 230, you could potentially make even more money, and then you could potentially play a call option back to the upside, maybe playing it back up to like 235 to that 236 level. But honestly, man, Apple did start falling off. So I will be potentially looking for a play. I feel like Apple can move a little bit faster or a little bit larger than other plays. But this is one that I'm looking for continuation to the downside for now, unless we get a shift. I'm going to be watching that 233 level. And if we bounce off of that, go to the upside, that could be a potential good play to watch. You just got to see how it reacts to market open. We did have a tiny gap to the upside, but we sold off like basically after that. So we got to see if we can get to the lows. If we get to the lows, we can potentially break below it and then maybe even sell off at market open. So have Apple on your watch overall. But yeah, the next one that I'm going to be watching is NVIDIA, and that's going to be a continuation to the upside. Oracle did make it look a little bit better, and we do look a little bit more bullish overall. So yesterday I did announce that NVIDIA needs to make a bigger move for us to see it go to the upside. One move that I was looking for is a 175 break. So if we could break above that 175, we have room to move to the 180. So keep that in mind overall. This is kind of like Oracle hype, so I'm not going to be too hype over it. You might see it sell off. So we do have gaps to fill upwards and some gaps to fill downwards. So if you do see NVIDIA start selling off, we could potentially level back out at that 170, and we can finally settle and see that, 170 is a normal level for NVIDIA now rather than 180. So if we do like fall back down to the 170, that could like give us basically a clearer picture on how to trade NVIDIA for the future. So if we do fall down to that 170, don't be too scared, because that might be where it levels out at, and then we can start playing plays at around like that 173 to like that 167.5 or something like that, 166.5. That could be some good levels to watch in the future for NVIDIA. But if we do get a continuation to the upside, I will be looking at that 175, 177.5, and that 180 level. And if we could break that 180, we have room to move to like 183 and then highs of like 185. So just have your patience overall with NVIDIA, but I'm very pumped to see where it goes. Next is going to be the SPY. Okay, so basically, man, now what we're looking at, if we can get like a clear break to the upside with the SPY, it can look a little bit better for like a 655 to a 660 push. But if we don't and we start falling down, especially once we get below that 650 level, we can place some put options on that. So I am going to be looking for a put option position for SPY to see if we can get, if we don't hold up basically. And if we don't hold up pretty strong, we can basically sell off. So the data that we get out today and other things can move this. So I'm going to be watching for a put option for SPY if we don't hold up. But if we do hold up, you can potentially get 655 to 660. So keep that on your mind. So we do got room to move back up to the high. So 652.5 and then 653. And then we might have a bounce off and then maybe sell off. But if we can get up to like 653, we might just sell off to like 650, hold up pretty strong. But this could be your sell order right here. And then if we start bouncing down even more, you could potentially make more money. But just have your patience with this one overall. But SPY, you might potentially be able to make some more money overall. Next one is going to be AMD. So AMD did break that 160 level. The same thing again is that 160 level is going to be big. So if we can hold above 160, we could potentially have room to move to like 163 to that 165 level. But if we don't hold that 160 level, put options can be put into play and we can fill some gaps downwards. First gap downwards is that 158.5. And then second one is going to be that 155. And then if we start selling off even more, we can look at 152 to 150. So honestly, man, this could be a good put option to play in the long, like a longer term put option. But at the same time, this could be one that can move pretty quickly to the downside, fill in the gaps back downwards. People just taking profits, getting out pretty early. Next is going to be Tesla. Tesla hasn't really been moving like strong, like showing a clear direction upside or to the downside. So that 350 is going to be a key level. We might be able to get up to that 350, bounce off, and then sell off. That's kind of what we did yesterday. We went up to that 350 level and then we sold off quickly after that. So you can look at that 350, see how it reacts to that 350 today. And then if we bounce off of it, you could play a quick little put option. Don't recommend being in that long, maybe looking at like 347, and you can make a decent amount of money off of that with Tesla. Tesla moves pretty strong. You can make a decent amount of money with it, but you want to see those bigger moves with Tesla overall, especially to the upside. You can make a decent amount of money, but please just have your patience overall. Next, we're going to talk about is Google. Google moved strong yesterday. Honestly, like Apple is lagging, Google is pumping. So we did get to 240. So next level to watch is going to be that 245 to that 250. Yesterday's move was a pretty big move to see for Google overall. So honestly, you could potentially see a little bit of a take profit and or a gap downwards, maybe to that 237.5. So keep that on your mind too, because you can play a put option for that too. The options are relatively priced pretty well, like the delta, so cost per dollar. And honestly, you can make a decent amount of money up or down with this one. So just have your patience overall. Next, we're going to talk about crypto. Crypto is like pumping, dumping, pumping, dumping. So we want to see a clear move up or down, especially like Bitcoin. We could potentially hit 120 again, but I think rate cuts might pump us up a little bit. But with that being said, have your patience. XRP is back below $3. So we can see if we can potentially hit that $3 mark. I don't recommend loading up anywhere below or anywhere when it gets like 2.8 or above. But I do recommend loading up if we get below that 2.8 level. And next, or last but not least, we're going to look at Ethereum. Ethereum is the same thing, pump and dump, pump and dump. But if we do finally get a clear move, IBIT is ETF that moves with Bitcoin. ETHA is ETF that moves with Ethereum. And then the other stocks is like MSTR. We got Robinhood. We got some other ones. We got some good news with Robinhood. They're going to come out with like a new, like basically making it like, I don't know if you guys heard of it, but it is called After Hour. And it's basically like X, but for trading, but they're going to be making a community tab for that. I mean, we see it in multiple platforms like TradingView has it. I think Webull has it where you can post plays and stuff like that. But Robinhood is thinking about adding that. And we had some more things with the event. It's not really anything pretty big, but honestly, it did pump Robinhood a decent amount. So you can watch Robinhood to the upside and or start selling off, filling some gaps back downwards. But with that being said, man, we'll be posting some option plays, our long-term plays, everything early on my X account, news before you guys even get it on certain platforms. I pay for the early news so you guys don't have to. But with that being said, follow me on X. Good luck with trading today. We're going to be announcing some plays a little bit later. Just let me do some more research and stuff like that. But smash the like button, subscribe. Good luck trading today, and comment down below any questions that you guys may have. Peace out.